Big Tino, and welcome back to From the Depths. We have found our first Lightning Hood's resource deposit, which is lovely, because as soon as we take this out, then their production is going to go way down, which is awesome. So our goal for today, take out the Strength 250 Defense Fleet, and then take out their base, which is called a Fulgurite. So, we've got our 5 aboleths fueled and ready. So let's get started with this. Actually, I want to move these guys a little more south so that we are away from those rocks there. And let's see what we're going to be facing. Hippotos, 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 Terawatt, Crossbolt, Anode, Crossbolt, Crossbolt. Okay, cool. Now, I have been working on the aboleth a good bit. I've got sort of a version, maybe we'll call it 1.5 or something, in the works that will have a 2-axis turret EMP particle cannon on the top, which will allow it to fire a lot more regularly. But I'm still kind of testing that out, and I'm not super happy with it as it is right now, and so I'm not using it in the campaign at the moment. So we're going to do this battle here with what we've got, and then probably for the next battle I will have our next version of the aboleth up. So it is going to have some of the same awkward tendencies that it has been having so far. I've been correcting those in the next version, but it's not there yet. So let's go ahead and get into this. Now, as with the last battle, the poor aboleth is going to be very outnumbered here, outgunned in terms of resource cost, in terms of volume, and everything like that. But because this ship does such a good job fighting the Lightning Hoods, I'm not too concerned. I'm going to spawn in with just 2 aboleths at the start, just so we can keep the block count down a little bit. All right, let's get into it. This is the biggest Lightning Hoods fleet we have fought so far, by the way. What we've been fighting so far has been Strength 200 fleets, and this is a lovely Strength 250. Looks like they are starting off with the Hippotos. Looks like right off the bat we've gotten a couple of EMP hits there, which is great. I think we're probably starting by firing at the crossbow, though it's hard to tell. Looks like we've got our missiles heading up into the air. I believe they're going to be tracking the Hippotos, which is fine by me. Or at least some of them are. Some of them have decided to go after the crossbow. But I would rather they go after the Hippotos if they can, because the sooner we take that thing out, the better. The Hippotos is still one of the strongest craft that I think the Lightning Hoods have. And of course we aren't great at fighting enemy air vehicles, although we're not terrible at it either. Looks like our EMP weapons are going to be focusing on... What are you focusing on? The Terawatt there, probably. You're focusing on that anode. A couple of really good hits there against the Terawatt, which is lovely to see. With enough missiles, you can get through their defenses. And there we go, there's another one. It looks like we have damaged the Terawatt's missile defense system enough to where our missiles are getting through. Now, the aboleth, the submarine, does not have enough ammo to reliably fire the missiles for a very, very long time. And so it's really more of an alpha strike. It can launch 2 full volleys, and then after that, the volleys are going to be a little reduced. But usually those 2 full volleys do a good bit of damage. And then after that, even a couple missiles here and there are good. We are hitting the underside of the Terawatt with EMP, by the way. I don't know if you saw that, like 90-something thousand damage there to this thing. But what I found so far is that our aboleth is really, really good at making the Terawatts just sink. So as soon as that thing passes overhead, we should fire on it. Or we won't. Or we won't. We might just be continue to be an awkward duck here. Yeah, what I'm doing right now is replacing sort of this central area here with the two-axis turret on sort of a raised platform so that it is able to move around a lot. And so far, my big issue has been just balancing the thing out so that it's energy efficient to where it's not going to completely overload the Aboleth's engines, while also being strong enough to be actually useful. Alright, now, someone in the comments did mention that this was a good view to use when looking for submarine battles, and I agree. This looks pretty good. I believe that is the anode, which I don't believe is supposed to be a submarine, or is it? It might be a submarine on purpose, or it might not be. Because remember, the Aboleth is really good at making things become submarines accidentally. But it does... You know, honestly, at this point, couldn't tell you. Could not tell you. At the moment, it looks like it is supposed to be a submarine. It is firing a lot of torpedoes. A turret-mounted laser is a weird weapon for a submarine to have, just because lasers are... Their damage is mitigated so much by being underwater. But, you know, who am I to judge? The Lightning Hoods have been kicking my butt so far, at least until the Aboleth. Which, by the way, still doing very, very well. So these are a bunch of missiles or torpedoes that have hopped out of the water for some reason, along with my anti-torpedo torpedoes, which, wow, that is a massive, massive torpedo there. And there it goes. The Aboleth's anti-torpedo missiles are pretty efficient at what they do. Although it looks like one did get through, doing some EMP damage to me. Thankfully, there's not really a whole lot down there. It looks like it probably just shut off this bottom fin, but that's about it. Yeah, we're definitely going to need to use more EMP protection because they are now using EMP torpedoes, which at the moment make for a very, very good counter to this thing. Ooh. Bunch of damage there, and we are right beside it, although it looks like we just hit them right back with some good EMP damage. And I don't think we shut it off completely, but it looks like it's having a hard time moving around. We're taking some more EMP damage to the sides here. Yeah, this is a reason why I really need that top-mounted two-axis turret on this thing, because for some reason it seems to wind up very, very close to enemies. And when it's this close to enemies, it has a hard time turning and firing at them. So there's one Aboleth there. Looks like... is that my other Aboleth? That is my other Aboleth, yeah. Looks like one of them is down to 97%, which is as low as I have seen those things get. Hopefully, though, we will continue to do well against these guys. I'm starting to think that I should have gone ahead and finished the next version of this thing. Although, we're still doing fairly well. We have the repair to keep up with it, really. They certainly don't have repair spam. There are enough in there to keep going, and I'll hop into this damaged one so that I can lend it my repairing skills. Alright. I believe the big threat here is the anode, which we are still firing at. Looks like we've gotten it down to 91% and dropping pretty quickly. That's probably some EMP damage. Has to happen once. It's gotta happen once. Looks like that aboleth is actually taking a lot of damage from lasers. Oh, I exploded out of my drop pod in midair. That's fine. Maybe I hit a missile. That's another thing I've been playing around with the next version, is seeing if the aboleth can go to about 75 meters down rather than just 50. My concern is that is just the depth of the water in general. You know, we've seen so far a lot of limitations just in terms of how deep the water itself goes. And so I worry about making it go down too far. Looks like you are also targeting that anode, which is fine. I'd rather just take that thing out quickly. Of course, that does mean that we're going to have kind of a hard time watching this fight. I think I just got EMP'd there. I think I personally just got EMP'd. Although, I mean, the avatar itself that you play does look like a robot, so I guess that makes sense. Down we go, once again. Maybe my next version will have a more armored cockpit. Let's hop over to this one for now, as much as I'd like to continue repairing the other one. I do want to see what's going on in fighting the anode. There's no safe place, guys. There's no safe place. I'll just dive into the water. As long as I'm not on one of my ships, I'm not really in any danger, so I'll just sink to the bottom of the ocean. So down we go. It definitely looks like the anode is going to be probably their most effective counter to the aboleth, since it is an EMP-based submarine. Okay, where are we? Looks like both of our aboleths are over here. And those are some missiles coming in from the terawatt. They're not going to do anything to us. There's the anode. Again, I'd like to apologize for my poor cameramanship here, because so much of this is just taking place underwater. It really is hard to see what's going on. But I believe this should be the anode over here. Yep, that looks like it. I do like these side-mounted two-axis turrets they've got going on here. And actually, this is kind of the setup that I've been thinking of doing for the top two-axis turret particle cannon for the aboleth. Something that's like this, where the turret itself is just right there at the very back and top, and so it is able to you know, aim backwards like that, which would be good. The problem with making a two-axis turret for a particle cannon is that there are so many parts to it, and in order to make it really good, you do need a lot of parts. But I think the top cannon will have just a single tube, because, you know, particle cannons are built via anywhere from 1 to, I think, 5 different tubes, and each tube fires its own beam, I guess, its own particle, and so you can make them all at different strengths. Their current main weapons have multiple tubes, primarily so that, see, in this case, it looks like maybe 1 or 2 of the beams missed, but the rest hit. So while I could make them just single powerful beams, I'd rather split the damage just a bit, just to give us a better shot of hitting. Let's see where we are right now. I'd rather have you continue firing at the anode.
Engaging now.
Even though that terawatt is right above you. Really need to bring this thing down. Nothing else is really too threatening to us at the moment. But this thing is kind of a monster. It's also really cool looking. Although, That might be bad for it. Yep, no, their torpedoes are getting away. I've definitely built submarines before where they go just above the land like that, and then their own torpedoes hit the ground and bounce off and go back into them, which, as you can imagine, is not good. Yeah, this is a cool craft. Oof, 523,000 points too, so it's a good bit pricier than the Aboleth itself. Looks like we got an EMP hit on something, although I don't see it on the anode. We might have hit something else instead. The other enemy ships are pretty damaged, with the exception of the Hippotos. Another thing I'm working on to improve on the Aboleth is its targeting. As someone mentioned in the comments, one big thing I'm going to do is just completely remove distance as a factor in terms of targeting. Looks like we got a good EMP hit there. That was a really good one. It's just rocking through the side there. Yeah, so I'm going to remove distance as a factor in terms of targeting so that all of these submarines just target the same thing. That turret does look really cool. That is a great looking turret. I'm going to use something like that for my design, I believe. It's going to need to be a lot bulkier because that's another good EMP hit. Because, well, with the laser, you can have all the internal pieces somewhere else and just connect it remotely to the turret, and so you really only need the projectors, the actual guns themselves on the turret, and everything else can just sort of be on the inside. With the particle cannon, you can't do that. There's no remote connection. As you might imagine, I mean, it's a particle accelerator cannon. You have a bunch of tubes, and the longer the distance, the faster the particle is accelerated, the more energy behind it. And so, you know, you wouldn't be able to do a remote connection for that anyway. But yeah, I definitely want to do something like this. I think that would be cool, and I think it would be very helpful as well. Looks like both of our Aboleths are sitting at around 98% health. And we are taking some EMP damage from the looks of things. Yeah, we're taking some EMP damage, which is fine. We're able to soak it just because we do have some EMP protection. But what's really helpful to us is that it is our two Aboleths right now are splitting the enemy fire, so they are able to resist this. I like how basically this entire battle is going on underwater. There are, you know, huge, amazing ships moving around up top. You know, you've got terawatts, crossbolts, there's the Hippotos, but none of them are really involved in this. It's two of my submarines versus one of theirs. And this submarine is really showing the effectiveness of these two-axis turrets. And also the effectiveness of torpedoes. Now again, I worry about using torpedoes against the Lightning Hoods just because, well, most of them are skimmers or flyers, and so they become really hard to hit. Are they going to ram us? I think they're going to ram us, and I think that might be bad for us. Yep, here we go, collision time. Oof. Alright. It looks like we actually survived that collision a lot better than they did, although it's, you know, still going on. They may have damaged this cannon a bit. No, they didn't damage the cannon. They didn't get through the armor, which is great. Alright, weird. Gotta do a little dance here. Yeah. Yeah, that's cool. We are going to get some frame loss here because, as I've said before, this game does not handle collision very well. We are just smacking it with our arms at this point. We are using the particle cannons as bludgeons and just sort of smacking it around right now. Just tons and tons of blocks coming off there. Looks like there's an internal explosion because that is an engine right there. We don't seem to have taken all that much damage ourselves. The arm is okay. Lost a lot of the cosmetics around it, but it seems to be okay. We are smacking it around some more. Something to be said for a melee submarine, I suppose. Alright, Aboleth. This would be a great time to fire your particle cannon. It really would. Oh, never mind. The cannon's damaged. There's no firing piece there. We just sank their cannon, or sank their submarine, I should say, by smacking it in the mouth with our cannons. And it looks like we've taken a big hit here in the front. Something is exploding. This aboleth is... Well, that's actually helping us to destroy the enemy ship here because it's propelling us forward and into the anode here. But I believe this particular aboleth is probably going to get pulled from the fight because it has done its duty. Although it's still at 93%, but it's not going to be very useful in combat for a while. I guess it does still have one working particle cannon. You know, the one that it didn't use as a cudgel. This, by the way, is the inside of the cannon arms. You can see it is just a tangled mess of tubes. I think it's got something like 350 length on 4 different tubes, which is pretty nice. We are now upside down. Yeah, I think it's time to pull this guy out of here, and we'll just bring in another one. What I am going to do briefly is pause here, because ships disappearing like this can cause some lag. But if you pause, it'll go ahead and make them disappear much more quickly, and then we'll remove the lag, which is a nice feature. And it also gives us a little bit of a cutaway view of the inside of the ship, which is cool. Lots of just giant torpedoes along the sides of that thing. Alright, cool. Well, my dear aboleth, you did very, very well. I'm going to go ahead and pull you out so we can spawn in a new one. Here's our new one over there. And that should also spawn in a couple more of the enemy ships too.
Listening.
Because, you know, we're keeping to a set block count in terms of what ships are in the battle at the moment. Here goes a nice alpha strike of missiles. Hopefully that will hit something. Now, the Hippotos suffers from the same problem that my Dark Mantle suffers from, which is that it's going to run out of fuel if it's in the fight for too long. It looks like we actually had a collision there. Yeah, the Crossbolt's AI is dead, which is great. Just sort of tossing that aside. And now it's nighttime, so we get nothing but a nice laser light show. What are we targeting now, I wonder? Looks like you're targeting the Hippotos. And you're also targeting the Hippotos. Yeah, that crossbolt's out. Let's have both of our guys target Terawatt, just so we can take that thing down, because again, I think the Hippotos, well, it's going to run out of fuel. It just does, given time. And I'd like to see us sink a Terawatt, because last time I didn't actually get to see, at least on camera, the Terawatts go down. They just sort of happened, and I found their ruined hulls at the bottom of the ocean. Well, you can see where we are just by where the missiles are trying to go. Alright, 100,000 damage EMP hit there on the Terawatt, which is lovely to see. Sorry about all the ridiculous engine and laser noises. Those kind of go crazy when you get close to a Lightning Hood's vehicle, as you might imagine. And it might be going down. It might be going down. It's kind of hard to tell. It's struggling to stay aloft. But as we've seen before, the aboleth is very, very good at just sinking these things. And I haven't really seen the process happen yet, so I'm not sure how that works. My guess is that it damages their engine power enough to where they're no longer able to use, you know, their propellers to keep themselves afloat. Oof. Looks like the aboleth I was in was taking a lot of damage. Yeah, it looks like they're focusing on it pretty hard. Definitely want to drop the altitude that those things go at, or the depth, I guess, once you're underwater. If I can get it to at least 60 pretty reliably, then I'll do that. I'd like to get it to 75, as I've said. But, you know, terrain can be problematic sometimes. I'm going to try to at least be near this thing so that I can help repair it. But if I die again, I'll just top to the bottom of the ocean. And there we go. Alright, let's get back above the water and see how we are doing. Looks like we have not sunk the Terawa yet. Yeah, let's just spawn into the water. It's not worth dying over and over. As much as I'm sure you all love this particular camera angle. Oh. I think my drop pod hit a missile again, which is a lovely way to drop in. Okay, let's pause and take a little bit of an account of our battle so far. So it looks like they've just brought in a fresh crossbow. We've got this aboleth, which I want to fire at the Terawa. And we've got this aboleth, which is damaged and is firing at the Terawa. Let's see how bad the damage is. Oh, seems to have hit some terrain. Yeah, it's lost an entire turbine here, which is fine. It doesn't really need to go fast, and it doesn't really... well, it does. It actually uses tank controls, so that's how it turns. Though it also has plenty of side propellers to help with that. But yeah, that's not great for it. Hopefully, it can still fight. Although I'm not sure that it can. That is a lot of damage it's taking. Yeah, I don't know. The AI has an option to where it'll require a certain amount of depth before it will actually, you know, before it'll move into that area. So it's not going to move into somewhere that's not deep enough to house it. I have set that, but it doesn't seem to care. So it might be that I need to set up some control blocks to sort of act as a fail-safe in that regard. Do wish we could get some fights on some very, very deep water with no land around. That would be lovely. Because the land has been as big an enemy in our fight against the Lightning Hoods as anyone else. Alright, looks like this aboleth I might need to bring that thing out of the fight. Which would be a shame, because I don't want to do that frivolously, because I only have 2 more in reserve here. So I'll give it a little bit more time. The other one's at 97%, which is okay. But again, has hit some land. Although this thing is now at a depth of 95, so I think it may have been damaged in some sense to get it there. It really should not be anywhere close to this deep. It's also upside down, which doesn't help. It does have roll controllers. It does have a PID to keep it there, to keep it stable. Although, I'll be honest, I might just need to set control blocks to handle its roll. Because the arms moving around, the arms are so heavy when the arms move around, they can cause some roll issues. Which, for a submarine, can be very, very bad. Looks like I hit something with a little bit of EMP. I might have hit one of those hippotoses. Hippoti. How is that enemy terawatt doing? Probably still 91%. Yeah, we're not really doing a whole lot of damage here at the moment. Because our 2 submarines are stuck on the land. Yeah, I need to get that new version out so that we don't have problems like this anymore. Not entirely sure what exactly is damaged here to make it not move, because its AI is still there, but it's not doing much. It's not doing much at all. Alright, well, we are not hurting them, so I'm going to bring that one out of the fight, so that I'll bring this one into the fight, and then fire at that terawatt. And then with any luck, what we have left will be enough. It is unfortunate that the Aboleth has to spawn on the surface and then go down, because that gives the enemy ships a lot of free hits on us. Our missiles going up. Hopefully we can get some hits on that Hippotos. That would be nice. I believe our particle cannons are aiming at... Oh, yep, no, we hit the Hippotos with the particle cannons. A lot of EMP damage there going through it, which is lovely to see. And I'm down. And, of course, the one spawned in on shallow water. There's just no way to tell when you're setting these things up where shallow water is going to be, which is frustrating. So down we go. So I know the whole drop pod system is there to sort of prevent you from just spam entering the battle and everything, but I sure wish it would let you access the map and things when you were in the drop pod. Looks like we did get another good hit on something with our EMP. And we are already upside down. Unless this is the other one. No, this is the other one. Looks like this one is doing okay. Looks like this one has repaired itself quite a bit. This one's not upside down, but is taking a lot of fire. And damage for having spawned in shallow water, because again, you can't tell when you're spawning these things in. Though it looks like that was a good... Alright, we got a good EMP hit on that Hippotos, and it is immediately AI dead. That is helpful. Although, looking in the back there, they do have another Scorpion, Hippotos, and Crossbolt ready to fight us. Not worried about the Scorpion, not worried about the Crossbolt. The Hippotos is still a problem, though. Yeah, gosh, look at that Aboleth back there. It's on a little outcropping of land, and it's so vulnerable. You can see all the little fires sticking up out of it. Hopefully we can hit that Hippotos with the EMP in return. Yeah, that's a real shame about that Aboleth spawning in on land, because that's going to really reduce the amount of just blocks we can throw into the enemy here. It looks like the terawatt there might be stationary. It might be either out of fuel, or he might have damaged its drives or something like that. Now, this thing, as long as it stays upright, looks like it is clearing the shallow waters at least a bit. It's kind of pushing itself up. There goes my weirdly magenta body. And if it can get down into this deeper water, it'll have the chance to repair itself, and then it should be fine. So let me take a risk here. Spawn inside. And then let's make it go forward just a bit. Alright, well that leveled us out some. Ooh, we lost the AI on this thing. Hopefully we can repair that. Oh, you know why? Because the AI is on the bottom. I bet we lost the AI to terrain. And here I thought the bottom part of the submarine would be the safe part of the submarine. Well, while its AI is dead, let's see if we can get it into some more shallow water. The other aboleth is back to 100% health, and it looks like it is firing at enemies still, which is nice. Because you can see the top right there, it is racking up some nice EMP damage. Okay. Clearing the shallow water there. And once we've done that, I'll just let this thing repair for a bit. Yeah, I do really need to set up some control blocks that just flat prevent it from hitting things. Because a submarine should not have to worry about hitting so much land. But we fight in weirdly shallow water. Looks like we are firing at that other Hippotos. Now that that Hippotos is gone, they've brought in, I believe, their last Hippotos. Yep. So they've got their terawatt still sitting there motionless. And they've got two Hippototi in the air. And how does our other aboleth look? That's not our aboleth. Where's our aboleth? There's our aboleth. Are you still upside down, or were you able to right yourself? Let's see. Still upside down. But, you know, it is able to aim its particle cannons. So, it will be able to hit the enemy every now and then. It's unfortunate that its missiles are not going to be able to work. But at the very least, it should be able to aim its particle cannons. It looks like one of the Hippotoses is going to be moving into range there. Both fired, both missed. Missed quite badly. Oh, you know what else? Its detection system is probably badly damaged, too. Yeah, there's not a whole lot you can do once a submarine flips over. There's not much... there's not really a whole lot of recourse there in terms of flipping it back over. So we really are relying on the aboleth that we're currently in to repair itself to where it's functioning again. But once it's back up, I think we're going to be in an actually pretty good position, just because they're all focusing on the aboleth that's deep underwater and on the floor of the ocean, which, because it's so deep underwater, it is very, very well protected from the enemy attacks. And so it's sort of acting as a tank at the moment while we're able to repair the other one. Now let's see how we do firing the next particle cannon. There's one miss and another miss. Yeah, it's pretty deep underwater at the moment, which is really, really throwing off how well it can aim at the enemy. You know, mixed blessings and all that. Looks like this aboleth is back in the fight. Its AI is back on. So hopefully we will see some damage coming from this one, since it can actually aim. But we'll see. What are you targeting? You are targeting the Terrawat, which is fine. I'd like to get rid of that thing. Looks like that Hippotos is probably the new one. It's still at pretty high health. The other Hippotos is probably a little more damaged. Looks like we did get a very, very large, very nasty hit on, I'm assuming, the Terrawat there from our EMP cannons. Let's see how this thing is doing. Is it out of fuel, or have we damaged it? It's not out of fuel. It's still got fuel. So we must have damaged it in some way. It is also directly above our sunken aboleth, which is probably having a field day hitting this thing with EMP. Yeah, we're getting just lots and lots of EMP hits on the bottom of it. And a couple of missile hits. Yeah, kind of a drawn-out battle here. I was hoping for something a little quicker than this, but I think we can pull it off. I think the enemy submarine, the Anode, was pretty difficult for our submarines to take out, and I think the one aboleth spawning on what was essentially land didn't help. Is this Terrawat sinking? It looks like it's trying not to. It's trying very hard not to. But it also looks like it's going to. You can see here one of our aboleths at 99 and the other at 97%. Oh, I wish that other one was not flipped upside down. I wish I had noticed when it flipped and how it flipped. I'm guessing that it was just the arms moving. Because the arms are so heavy, like I said, they can tip the aboleth over. And then probably something hit it that caused it to just roll all the way over. I think the PID system right now is not strong enough, and I'll just need to do roll through control blocks. But right now, it looks like their crossbolt spawned in. Right now, not a whole lot going on as I get shot out of the cockpit. So what I may do is cut for a little bit here, and I will come back when something a bit more interesting happens. So I will be back in a minute. Alright, so I actually had to use the end battle function there because the two Hippotoses were all that were spawned in at the moment. And they had run out of fuel and crashed really, really, really far away. And it would have taken me absolute ages to get to them. And so I don't really have the time for that, unfortunately, today. So I'm going to end the episode here. I'm going to save it right here. And then for the next episode, we're going to immediately start and finish this battle. So we've damaged the two crossbolts. Both Hippotoses are out of fuel and damaged, and the Scorpion never spawned in. So our aboleths are in pretty decent shape, honestly. Two of them are pretty badly damaged, but the others are in pretty good shape. And honestly, this ending the battle like this is going to be a huge advantage to me, just because now I know where to spawn our ships. So like out in this direction here, where the water is at least not as shallow as it is over here. And also, you know, I'll be able to spawn them back in right side up. So, thank you all so much for watching. I apologize, we're going to have to sort of cut this battle in half, but next time it should be a quick battle to mop these guys up. We'll take this resource zone, and then we'll keep fighting the lightning hoods. So thank you all so much for watching.